Hey everyone, it's Katrina Jones here with another Rent to Rent Q&A session for you. As always, you guys have sent your questions in to me and I'm about to answer all of them for you. Please remember, as always, there's nothing I won't answer, so if you have a question, fire it over and in the next live Q&A, I will answer it for you. If this is your first ever Q&A video, welcome. And just to let you know, we timestamp everything. So if you look in the comments box below and you want to skip ahead to a certain question and answer, I've written the exact time that it's been answered for you. So you don't have to watch the entire video waiting for your question. So my questions are written down here. I'm just going to fire away. So the first question that we've had this week is from Robert. Thank you so much for your email. And he says, "Hi Katrina, I thoroughly enjoyed your webinar. Thank you. You mentioned you don't need any of your own money to do a refurb, whilst others are saying that you do." Okay, so when it comes to refurbishing your rent-to-rent properties, here at Kendall Bailey, we have a really specific way of doing that. Much like when you purchase a property, lots and lots of people will say, save up all your own money and then buy a property. Whereas property investors who know other ways of doing it will say, don't wait 10 years to save and buy a property, just do a joint venture, borrow money from an investor, get the property purchased and do it like that. When it comes to rent, it's exactly the same. You obviously have the choice of putting your own money into the property, into the refurbishment, of course you do. However, here at Kendall Bailey, and the way that we train is to ideally never put your own money into the rent-to-rent property. And the reason why is because putting your own money in kind of defeats the object of the whole purpose, which is a cash flow business. So to start a business to make you as much money as you can, but put your money in it, you're kind of doing the opposite of the whole point of the business, if that makes sense. So the real strength of rent to rent is when you put none of your own money in and obviously get the maximum amount out. Now, there are various ways in which you can do that, but the thing I need to caveat really powerfully is that I'm not a financial advisor and I'm not telling you what to do. You need to be fully 100% responsible for your personal finances. So we at Kendall Bailey actually use investor finance or loans to fund our refurbishments, but we do it very, very specifically. So we never end up with any negative debt and we always pay back everything as soon as we can. So let me explain exactly how. For example, we may take a very low percentage loan, maybe 2 to 3%, maximum 5 or 6%, and we'll borrow the money from a range of different places, whether it's an official loan, family, friends, one of our trusted investors, and we will borrow a maximum of £3,000 to £5,000 per property, and we'll pay them back over the term of the deal we sign. So if we sign a 3-year deal, we'll pay our investor back the amount they lent us, spread perfectly over the 3 years. So by the time the deal finishes, the repayment's been made. So we never ever end up with a deal completed at the end of its term and money still owing, because that would be awful. You just want everything paid back as quickly as you can. So that's how we do the refurbishments funded not by us. You've also mentioned here that what about paying the vendor's legal fees? Now, rent to rent is very similar to normal lettings or company lets. There's a few differences, obviously, but vendors, for the best part, don't have any legal fees. They just sign your contract and off you go. You might have a really, really fussy landlord that wants to run it past their solicitor, but it's very unlikely. It's the same as a landlord going to a normal letting agent to have their property managed and wanting to run the letting agreement past a solicitor. It's just highly unlikely. And if they did really want to go through all that trouble, it would definitely be their cost, not yours, because it's their wish. Someone has also said that they've heard you need £10,000 to do your own rent-to-rent property, and that it's turning a residential property into a HMO, planning, licensing, etc. This is the complete opposite of how we actually do rent to rent and how we train rent to rent. So the last thing in the world we'd ever do is convert a residential property into a HMO, go through the faff of the planning and the licensing, worrying about the mortgage implications, putting up stud walls, convincing the landlord why their property should be a totally different type of property, and investing something as crazy as £10,000 into it. That is really not necessary, and I would never suggest you put that much money into a property that wasn't your asset, unless it's making you like 2k a month net. We deal with existing HMOs or existing shared houses. So the planning's dealt with, the licensing's dealt with, the mortgage is on the right product. It's already a HMO, so there's no need to start making rooms out of nowhere. You just put your tenants in and do a light refurb, like I said, with a maximum of 3 to 5k investment, if it even needs it. Sometimes you'll find a gorgeous shared house that just doesn't need any money put in at all. So that's that. And how much money would I need to start in rent to rent? So really the total amount to start the actual business is things like your website, joining the appropriate accredited schemes, maybe business cards, marketing. The small upfront costs shouldn't cost you more than between £300 and £500. You then have your initial refurbishment costs if the property needs a refurbishment, but we've just covered previously why that won't be your money. And then when it comes to the first month rent, we actually never ever pay a first month's rent. You always get the first month's rent free. And that is a whole nother conversation and not a question you've asked. So I'm not going to go into a whole nother world of something else. Okay, so we've now got some questions from somebody else here. So this first question says, how can I be different and stand out from other businesses that are also operating the rent-to-rent strategy in my goldmine area? That is a really good question. And the answer is probably not in the context you think that it's going to be. But here it is. When you understand rent-to-rent inside out and you're doing it efficiently, effectively, confidently, you're providing a great service that you're explaining flawlessly, and your service and offers are amazing, there will be no competition. You will automatically stand out. So it's how you actually operate as a rent-to-rent business owner that will have you stand out. And you'll sometimes see things on social media and stuff that will make you believe it's the colour of the walls in the bedroom or the logo on your business card or your website. Those things are totally irrelevant. Of course, the property needs to look good, and of course you need a website, but these aren't the things that are going to have landlords sign your properties, trust me. It's how you deliver your offer, and it's the actual service you provide alongside it, which is part of your promise. That is not something I can summarise in a video because I'll be here all day, but this is what we train on our weekend course, and I promise this isn't me trying to sell you a place on the weekend course. I'm just saying that if you want to learn how to operate at such a powerful level that you just leave everyone else in the dust, you need to do a really powerful rent-to-rent course so that you've got all the tools, and then that will just happen naturally. How do I select a goldmine area between a couple of choices when they are very good potentials, seem to tick the boxes, and are local to me? What can help me decide? I'll say a couple of things. The first thing is the closest place to you. If what you've said here is right, it's great potential, it ticks the boxes, and it's local, pick the one that's closest, because you're the one that's going to have to go to and from for the refurbishment, for the viewings, and for everything. If they're both identically close, really like they're the same, then I would go for the place with the highest demand and the place with the most HMOs. And if that's equal as well, at this point, I would flip a coin because the truth is it doesn't matter. If there's supply and demand, any area is going to work. So just pick one. The only thing I would say is just pick one and just do one. Don't start marketing in both and doing a little bit here and a little bit there, because you're going to really waste your time and spend too much time and money. You just need one goldmine area and that's it. Can you show me which contracts I should be using with the landlord? So the management and commercial lease contracts. So first of all, we don't use commercial leases. Great question, but there's the management contract, which either is with the agent or the landlord. And then there's the AST with the tenants. Yes, we can absolutely show you the contracts and we can share those with you. I'll be honest with you, that's not something we do free of charge. However, it doesn't cost a bomb. So if you do want to send me an email about contracts, then we can have a conversation there for sure. That is a service we provide. Okay, next question. How can I respond to a landlord/investor when they ask questions about my experience, the number of staff and properties I have, or where my office is located when I've just started the business? Brilliant question. I remember this feeling like it was yesterday. So this depends entirely on your situation. If you have a buy-to-let or any property at all, then of course you can totally use that when you're talking about your experience. If you have nothing, then you can just be really honest. However, this is one of those situations where, again, when you're framing your offer powerfully, really powerfully, in the way that we show you to, these aren't the kind of questions landlords turn around and ask. They're almost odd questions. We rarely have ever been asked these questions, and it's because of the way that we position ourselves, the way that we make our offer, the way that we talk about ourselves and our company and how we work. However, on the rare occasion that we do get asked, then we just completely tell the truth. I think if you're nervous about the fact that you're a new company, just bear in mind it's a mindset. Every single company in the world ever, in the history of business ever, had a day where they had no clients ever. Like every single business, even the multi-million pounds, had day one on the phone when their first ever client said yes. It's important to not assume that landlords and investors think that this is a negative thing, because it's not. It's just maybe something that you think they'll find is negative, and it's really not at all. Every person, if you remember, every person that's ever done rent-to-rent successfully out there in the world, at some point had their first ever conversation with their first ever investor or landlord. And we cover all of those conversations in great depth. So if you are interested in learning more and us giving you all the scripts, the pitches, the objection handles, everything, then do feel free to get in touch, because again, that is a service we provide. But it's a mindset thing more than anything. Who pays the council tax and the landlord's building insurance? Will these costs fall on the landlord or myself? Okay, so when it comes to buildings insurance, it's the landlord's property, so they should have that as part of their entire insurance package for the property. However, council tax, along with all the other bills, is something that you pay out of the rent, so that's part of our service. And you need to make sure that after your rent to the landlord and all of the bills, so council tax, gas, electricity, water, TV licence, broadband, etc., that you're making that minimum of £600 after tax on every property. That's your bare minimum. And there's one last question here, which is, do I need to open a business bank account? Any bank suggestions? Can I use a separate personal account to start my business to avoid the monthly/withdrawal charges that come with business banking? Okay, another great question. Do you need to open a business bank account? Yes, you do. You're going to be incorporating a limited company and you need a bank account to match that, non-negotiable. There may be charges. However, we actually bank with Barclays and they gave us a whole year free when we started as an introductory offer. And I think a lot of business bank accounts do that. So that's great. And then after the first year, I promise £6.50 won't be a problem. If you're doing this right, the fees won't matter. So that's good. Can you use a separate personal account? No. You need a business bank account if you're running a limited company, for sure. And you should never be withdrawing money from it. There's no need to ever withdraw cash, so that won't be a charge. And the monthly fees, like I say, you can usually get a year free with any good business bank, and Barclays are awesome. But Barclays Business Banking I found flawless over the years. So that's it. They are all the questions that I've been sent in this week. So if there's any other questions that you have, you've either found me on YouTube through an email that I've sent you or Facebook, just either reply to my email that I've sent you or send me a private message on Facebook. And every week or two, I will do a Q&A. I'll answer every single question you've asked me. I'll timestamp it so that you can skip straight to your questions. And that's it. I'm always here for you. I'm always here to support you if you need me. So thank you for joining another Rent to Rent Q&A. Have an amazing day. Take care. All the best in the world on your journeys, and we'll speak soon. See you later.